Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about how 2020 is most likely going to be the worst year in Magic the Gathering, at least in recent memory, if not for all times. And part of that is a combination of choices that have been made by the company. And most of that, honestly, is what's going on in the world right now. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to what's going on out there, but in the last week or so, people have been losing their minds and fighting old ladies and stuff just to get this. This is somehow magically this will protect you. Get the paper, forget cardboard rectangles. This year, it's all about rolls and tubes, son. So, what we're gonna talk about obviously is impacted by the kimono virus, as we say here. Some of you may not know that YouTube has cracked down on people talking about this kind of thing. And so I will be referencing it as kimono because that's an easy way to get to talk about it without having it negatively impact my channel. Now, this is going to lead, not what's going on with my channel, but the existence of kimono and what's going on with society is going to lead to some major impacts to Magic the Gathering. Who am I kidding? It already has. We have seen a number of cancellations, some slightly confusing. I mean, Wizards of the Coast canceled streaming for a few weeks. So Magic streaming, Dungeons and Dragons streaming. Now, this doesn't mean specifically people aren't allowed to stream their games, not that Wizards could stop them anyways. What it means is that the company isn't having official streams, which is weird because they have people come on and guest stream, and I don't believe that everybody who guest streams for Wizards actually comes to their physical location. So that's the one change that they've made that is a little curious to me, where I look and go, you canceled streaming. I mean, erring on the side of caution, that's a great idea. We're looking to, as they call it, flatten the curve in this scenario, right? But actually, I suppose before we dive fully into all the different kinds of cancellations and everything, let's talk about why this is even happening, because some people don't actually have the proper context and they go, well, isn't this just you got a cold or something? There's no big deal. Why is everybody blowing this out of proportion? Yes, there is a certain amount of fear mongering going on with the media. We live in the age of sensationalism and clickitude, where clickbaity kind of stuff gets a lot of attention, right? So news organizations will really hype up what's going on, and there is a constant stream of reporting on this. Now, the truth is, overall, this is not really dangerous to the majority of mankind. It really only is a problem for people who have underlying conditions, really, right? But the issue is that this is something new, and if it's allowed to just run rampant without any kind of controls put in place, it can impact too much of society all at once. So you end up with this huge curve of people who are affected. Now, if you can spread out how, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to stop kimono from getting around. So what you want to do is you want to slow it down so that you don't end up with a massive overburdening of medical systems, because it strains the medical system of different countries, and it puts doctors in heart-wrenching situations where they have to make really unfortunate choices, right? It's bad all around. So these changes, what's going on in terms of this, are all made with the interest of protecting overall society's health. Now, there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. That's unavoidable. So Wizards has canceled streaming. There is no more streaming for the next couple weeks. I would say that's the least impactful out of all of the changes that are happening, because if you want to watch people play Arena, there's still tons of people doing it. You go watch Voxy or whatever else makes you happy. You know what I mean? You got no problem that way. There's tons of people rocking Arena. You can get your fix. So that is inconsequential. Now, what is consequential is the cancellation of the Grand Prix and Magic Fests, okay? We're looking at, last time I checked, Channel Fireball had canceled the last 8 GPs. Now, this is a move that deserves a fair bit of respect, in all honesty, because you have to understand that when a company makes these choices, they are losing money, right? They went ahead and rented out convention center. They've planned for all these employees. There's all these costs that go along with running a GP. And instead of saying, we've got to try and recover as much money as we can, we're going to run the event. If people don't come out, whatever, if there's a negative impact on society, whatever. One of the things that is a side effect of this whole kimono situation is it's had a heartening effect in me in terms of looking at society and how many people genuinely care about other people and will put people before their own business decisions and money. And after dealing with especially with Magic, dealing with so much greed, because greed is hard baked into the company and into a large portion of the Magic community as well. There's a culture of greed, and I've got to get mine at the expense of others. Who cares? So seeing that these GPs are canceled is heartening in that regard, and respect to Channel Fireball for making the best choice of actually going, you know what, we're just going to have to cancel these. But that's 8 major events just gone. They can't generate revenue from selling their mystery drafts, the main event, all that. They have to refund everybody's money. So everybody who is going to go to the GP, depending on how soon it is, they may or may not be really affected overall. If you're somebody who was going to go to a GP that's in a couple of weeks, and yes, you already booked a hotel room and everything, then yeah, you're going to be out some money too. And that sucks, on top of losing out on your magical weekend. You're losing out on the experience, you're going to lose out on money that you had locked in, but the people who are further down the line are going to have an opportunity at least to step back and ideally get their money back. So this is going to cause a big hit financially to one of the biggest paper supporters of Magic the Gathering, right? Channel Fireball are the people who run all of Magic's official bigger events. They don't run obviously FNMs. That's a local LGS, and we will get into the impact on LGS as well, because that's not that. Anyways, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So the GPs being shut down cause a number of problems, right? Channel Fireball takes a massive hit. Now, they were already not looking profitable. I think 2019 was a non-profitable year for them. They just didn't make any money. I don't remember exactly when, but I remember in recent past, Channel Fireball had talked about financial problems that they were having as a company and trying to restructure and figure things out in a way where they can still run the events and have them be profitable. Now they're looking at the loss of 8 major events across a year. Now, I don't know exactly how many GPs there are, so I'm just going to spitball and throw a number out there. Let's say there's 32. Let's say there's 32 GPs, and that might be roughly around the right number. But either way, that means 25% of their entire year has just been obliterated with very little way to recover from it. These GPs need a fair bit of planning, right? You've got to get all your ducks in a row, and people being available to go to them is also important, which is why they have the schedule so far out so you can plan months and months in advance. Not very many people, even though Magic does have affluent players, not very many people can afford to just on a whim be yep, I'm going to go and travel all the way here for this event on a moment's notice. So Channel Fireball is taking a big hit, and they are a big supporter of paper Magic, right? They're one of the biggest supporters of paper Magic, along with LGSs. Yes, there are Amazon sales and things like that, but those aren't really a part of what we're talking about here. Things like Amazon will be, they'll do a little bit better. They're going to weather the storm better because they don't have any physical events they need to cancel. You can still order things off them online and get them sent out to you. But the GPs are going to be a big hit. And this is going to feed into Wizards' bottom line, right? All the stuff that Channel Fireball would buy from Wizards, they've got to buy a ton of product from Wizards to be able to run these events, which now they may have, depending on how far out they buy, they may have already bought too much product for however long. So it's going to take a while before this gets felt by Wizards in terms of, no, we don't need to buy these mystery booster boxes from you for a while because we've lost however many tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know exactly how much they're going to lose, but Channel Fireball is going to lose a bunch of money on this. And that's going to result in purchasing less from Wizards of the Coast. And that's on the GP larger event scale. Now, when we turn to LGSs, we can already see the impact that this is having. Wizards has come out and talked about the Ikoria pre-release not really being canceled, but the closest thing to it that they can say without just full-on saying we're canceling it, which is not something they want to do. Where for the first time ever, you are able to go to a store, sign up for a pre-release, and then you can just come in and pick up the pre-release kits and take them home. You don't have to stay and play in the event. You're allowed to just buy your stuff and leave. Now, that's normally 100% against Wizards rules, where it's like you have to play in a pre-release to get pre-release product. So Wizards came along and said, no, you know what? You can take the packs and go home. Here's the thing. Not everybody goes to a pre-release just because they want the new cards. They want the social experience, the hanging out with their friends, enjoying new cards. Pre-releases are one of the chillest and funnest style Magic events. But we also have to accept the reality that when it comes to Magic players, hygiene is a genuine issue, okay? Now, this isn't every player, obviously, but at virtually every game store, you are going to find multiple bags of grossness disguised as human beings. And they are just filth demons, okay? So most of the time, people know if you go to like a pre-release or like a convention or something like that, you're probably going to get sick. Somebody has something. It's probably going to happen to you. So you've got a situation now where people like may look at it and go, okay, there's already that level going on. I don't want to go to the pre-release. I'm actually just going to skip it. I'm not going to buy the product. And this can have a knock-on effect for LGSs as well, where Wizards normally uses the previous like events to kind of gauge how much product you should get. Now they've come out and said they're going to try and work a system where it doesn't affect people's tickets or whatever, but this is also Wizards of the Coast, and they do drop the ball a fair bit of the time. So this could have an effect in terms of the product that LGSs will be getting. But the real problem for LGSs is that they operate on, especially when it comes to Magic, razor thin margins. There's not a huge markup on most Magic products. The only thing that you can really mark up to any reasonable degree are items that are extremely hard to come by, and each store only gets a few. You can't have a high markup on a booster box or anything like that because Amazon will undercut you. So it's really difficult for LGSs to have any kind of reasonable amount of margin on Magic product. Magic product will always sell, but it won't make you bank. Like you can buy stuff from Games Workshop, for example, for roughly half the price of what you're selling it for. So you've got like a 50% profit margin. With Magic, you're lucky to get a 10 to 15% profit margin. And if you think about that, that means that if somebody sells you a $100 box, they're lucky if they can make $10 off it. And they've got to pay to have the store open and whatever. And a lot of LGSs aren't run by incredibly business savvy people. They're run by people who love the game and want to support it. So they have the LGS and they're just trying to keep it going. It's almost the equivalent of people working paycheck to paycheck, which is a lot of people. I would say the majority of people live a working paycheck to paycheck life. So the LGSs have a diminished turnout. You have fewer people coming out. I've already seen it happening. This weekend seems to be like the start of this decline. It seemed like up until about now, things were going roughly okay. And you got to understand, I'm talking from a perspective here in Canada. And it's taken longer for Kimono to have any kind of effect here in Canada, right? But you're definitely seeing it now, where I saw postings today from the one LGS in the city talking about how it was tumbleweeds and nobody was coming in, and they just closed up shop early and left. I noticed at another LGS this weekend that the turnout for events across the board were greatly decreased. We're talking more than a 50% reduction. So this is far fewer customers coming through the door. And this isn't something that's going to resolve itself in 1 week. This is something that's going to last a number of months, it looks like. Now, obviously, I'm not like a medical professional. I don't know exactly how long these sort of things take because we've never been through this. But this is something where we could have these like this effect of things being canceled and a lower turnout. We could have this happen across months. And when you're a week to week, like just like every 2 weeks, just living paycheck hand to mouth kind of thing, that can be disaster. That can just be the end of your LGS. So we're looking, this is going to hasten the end of the LGS era. We're right at the tail end of it. We're right at the tail end of the LGS era. It's not really something that is being supported overall, as the way that players like to purchase things have changed, and everybody wants to go into their LGS and demand that they sell me a box for Amazon's price, sell me singles for TCG Player Low. So these shops were already getting crushed under no margins and incredibly demanding, greedy customers. And then you have the scenario where now you don't even have those people coming in, putting a trickle of money into the pockets. So what happens to those LGSs? They have a number of options. They can diversify into other products, at which point they may realize that Magic's not even worth carrying. I've seen that happen with LGSs, where they go, yeah, this product isn't worth carrying. The amount of hassle and effort that I have to put into it versus the amount of revenue that it generates is just not worth it. Magic does have that stability that comes along with the fact that you know that Magic will always sell. But I've noticed that every local gaming store around here, whenever they have sales on items in the stores, it's never on sealed Magic. And part of the reason for that is they just don't make enough off of it. So we've got this scenario where LGSs will either move away from Magic or just go out of business. We're going to be losing a good number of LGSs. It's bound to happen under these scenarios. They were just basically keeping their head above water, and Kimono has come, grabbed their head and gone, get down under there. Just shoved them under the water. So we're going to see, we've got the decrease from the GPs. We've got LGSs, which are going to just stutter and flare out. We're going to lose a portion of the Magic player base. It's unavoidable. There's no way like that it's not going to happen. People are going to develop other hobbies. You can play, like, think about the way you play video games or something like that, where you could be playing a game like hardcore, and then all of a sudden you get into another game, and a month later you forgot that other game you were playing even existed as your way into this game. So a bunch of people may look at Magic and just go, you know what, I don't like what's going on here, and I'm just gonna move off and get into another hobby. And then once they get into that hobby, they'll just kind of go, yeah, I remember my Magic days, and that'll be it, and they'll never come back. So we're gonna lose a portion of the player base, and with the amount of time this can be happening, they can easily establish new routines, new habits. One of the biggest draws of Magic is that it's a social game. It's a social experience. Playing Magic in person is way better than playing on Arena. Arena is a fine program, and I'm a big fan of it. However, playing in person dominates that by a long shot. You cannot get the same experience from playing Magic on Arena. So, it's a social game, but we can't get together socially. You see how that works? Like this is a knock-on effect where it's not only just going to affect LGSs, it's going to affect people getting together for casual tabletop games, where it's just like, me and my boys get together once a week or once a month to play some Commander. Well, now, we used to do it at Billy's house, but Billy's wife is worried about this, or somebody had a sniffle, so we're going to cancel it this month. We're going to cancel it next month. If you have any experience with Dungeons and Dragons and how hard it is to get people together and stuff, and how important it is to have that set time to do it, this sort of scenario will lead to fewer people playing casually as well. So you're going to have a decrease in casual players. You're going to have a decrease in LGS players. You're going to have a decrease in GP players. It's across the board. And what does this mean underneath it all? It means that Wizards makes less money, right? They have to. There's no, the money has to flow from people's pockets to Wizards of the Coast. If there aren't as many people playing, there aren't as many people buying. If there aren't as many people buying, Wizards' profit margin goes down. Now, Wizards of the Coast can't turn to Hasbro and go, we're not making any money. Or, God forbid, say, we took a loss in this quarter. Because that is a danger to the people who are at the head of Wizards of the Coast. How it works is Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast makes Magic the Gathering. Now, if Wizards of the Coast goes, we've posted a loss, then Hasbro goes, maybe it's time to change the management over there so that we don't have another problem like this. So it's the people who are at the top who make the most money, whose jobs are most threatened by quarterly losses, because that's the whole point. Hasbro owns Wizards to get money from it. It's the only thing that matters. Customer satisfaction doesn't matter. None of that is important. It's strictly about how much money can be extracted from the player base and fed up to the mob boss Hasbro. It works like that, where you got to keep kicking up the chain so the Big Daddy gets the money that he wants. So Wizards can't post a loss. They're not going to be allowed to do that if it's at all humanly avoidable, because the people at the top who have power over the jobs of everybody else will say, make this work or lose your jobs, because their job is on the line. Heads will roll. That's the kind of scenario. So Wizards has to make money. We've seen this sort of thing happen already where the Theros book was canceled. And what did they do? They went and took the free novel that Sanderson, I did a video on this. They took the free novel that Sanderson had created and wanted to be freely available to people, and they took it down offline, and now they're printing physical books to try and sell to us. Why? Because they need more money. They took a loss on the Theros books because they can't put them out because they're a garbage fire. So they need the money to come from somewhere else. They turn around, sell the Sanderson books. Now, they don't have that scenario here. Where can Wizards find the money? And that's what the question is going to become at Wizards Corporate, where they go, okay, we are going to lose money on GPs. We're going to lose money from LGSs. We're going to lose money from the casual players not buying products. We are going to see a decline in multiple different areas. How do we mitigate that? We have a shrinking customer base. What do we do about that? Well, we have to have as much or more money coming in. So we're going to have to extract more money from the remaining players. The situation doesn't get better for the people who are left behind. It gets worse as Wizards demands more resources from fewer people. What does this mean? It most likely means things like an increase in secret layer products, an increase in secret layer product prices, the price of regular booster packs being pushed up, the price of pre-release being pushed up. I would not be surprised at all to see price increases on a whole range of Magic products as they desperately and feverishly attempt to basically pull the money out of, like, more money out of the same people's pockets. But there's a limit to that. People only have so much money. Wallet fatigue is a real thing. People won't be able to keep up with that. On top of that, you've got to keep in mind that not only is Wizards losing money from this kimono scenario, but virtually everybody is. If you can't go to work, like if you have a really good job, then they'll be like, yes, you can have paid time off, no problem. You're an important worker. We understand the scenario and your health matters. But that's not most people. Most people work in jobs where they're like, if you don't come in, you don't get paid. And most of the low-level jobs, which are all the ones I've had in my life, so I have very much sympathy for these people. The people who work at your like local, like Tim Hortons, for example, right here in Canada, was getting into this big thing because if you're sick, they expect you to get a doctor's note. And doctor's notes cost money here. So we have our health care paid for. You can go and see a doctor and it's covered by your health care. But if you want a doctor's note, you have to pay for it. And that can be $30, $40, $50, $60 just for a note. So that right there equals more than half a day's pay, because this is like you're spending money you've gotten after taxes, after deductions or whatever. We're talking about 2/3 of your income for a day or more, depending if you're part-time. You could lose a whole day's pay in terms of not being able to work for the day and then having to pay for the note as well. So there's a number of days you're going to have to take off. You're not going to make any pay for those. Plus you're going to have to pay to get to keep your job. That's the sort of scenario that it's been like for every job I've ever had, because I worked like, I've only ever had crummy jobs in Canada. And the way things work is they take advantage of it because they know they got you over a barrel. You're barely surviving week to week and getting by. But these people still find money to spend on Magic. You know what I mean? Like, you work hard all week. Yeah, okay, you know what? Maybe I should take this $20 and spend it on whatever. But I deserve to enjoy something. So I'm going to take this $20 and I'm going to go and play in a draft this weekend. Or I'm going to go and pick up a couple packs of those mystery boosters to have that nice emotional feeling of cracking some goodness. Whatever it is, that little bit of release that you get from that little bit of extra spending money that you have, or just you make a little bit of sacrifice on your grocery, whatever. I know I've played the balancing games to keep my bills balanced and everything tons of times to get a little bit of money for some enjoyment. So we've got a scenario where those people aren't going to have money to give to Wizards. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to lose money across the board. People are going to look at things and go, okay, I'm hurting for money. Where can I not spend money? Forget Magic. And then after a while of not spending on it, they might go, you know what? What a big money sink this is. So all this stuff is coming together, and there's probably other factors that I haven't even laid out, because this is actually an incredibly complex situation. But overall, if I'm to summarize the idea, it's basically like we're going to see a decrease in the number of people playing Magic. So we're going to lose friends that play Magic. And at the same time, the rest of us are going to be expected to shoulder the slack and pay Wizards of the Coast more money. Because at the end of the day, we are just yawning, gaping wallets that they wish to fist money out of. That's the deal. So for me, I just see it getting uglier. Now I'm interested in other people's thoughts. If you have a different perspective, by all means, share it in the comments below. Let me know what you think is going to go down, because I can't see it happening any other way. And I got to say, I'm never happy to lose some of our magical brothers and sisters, and I'm certainly not happy to see prices going upwards, and it seems inevitable. I mean, price increases seem inevitable this year just based on the economic scenario. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for coming by and listening to me. I know I went on over long. I'm not trying to be like full-on doomsayer, doom and gloom, but at the same time, it feels like it's worth discussing. It does feel like a genuine reality and not just like a, this is the end of Magic, because it's not. Magic will survive this. Magic will weather the storm. It's mostly what's going to happen to the customers, the player base, that is the ugliest part, and the people I feel the most for are the players and LGSs specifically, because this is going to be a very, very difficult time for LGSs, and we will see the proverbial like boarded up doors, out of business. Thanks for the business, but we're gone now. And it leaves me feeling less than happy. Let's put it that way. Okay, so thanks for coming by, my friends. If you want to just kind of have a laugh after this, you're looking for something to pick you up, I do have a second channel where I just do goofy, funny videos. They will make you laugh. They will pick up your spirits. I invite you to come on over. I'll link it here at the end of the video for you and down in the description so that you can find it. Thanks for being here. Big shout out to my patrons and channel members. And I shall see all of you, my friends, very soon.